So why offer a grant writing class? As tuition costs increase, college-age students need help to find scholarship money. Artists need funding in order to pursue creating larger projects. Many smaller nonprofits don't have dedicated grant writers, yet need money to sustain their programs and organization needs. This class will help patrons both personally and professionally by teaching the basics of the types of grants that exist and how to find and apply to them. To design this class, it had to be determined who are the learners, what they need to know prior to enrolling, what learning materials already existed and could be used, and who the most appropriate teacher would be. The target students are individuals looking for grant funding for artistic projects or scholarships, and employees of small nonprofit organizations. Class participants need to have basic computer skills in order to enroll. They should also have basic writing skills and experience doing online searches, but it's not required. 15 computers are needed, and the library's computer lab could be used. There are many appropriate materials that exist that could be used, including foundation giving trend reports. The most appropriate instructor is someone with a minimum of 3 years of successful grant writing experience. The goal for this class needs to be measurable and have consensus from all stakeholders. The goal was decided on by evaluating the needs of the class participants, what they would be able to do after the class, and how they would be able to demonstrate what they learned. After this evaluation, it was determined that the goal of the class is to teach learners how to support their organizational, artistic, or scholarship needs by teaching them how to identify funding prospects and the basics of proposal writing. In order to teach the process of how to find potential grant funders and writing grant proposals, the necessary steps are to teach how to identify projects needing funding, understanding the different types of grants and their funding sources, identifying search terms related to the project that needs funding, and how to use those search terms in the Foundation Center Directory online database and other resources, and how to evaluate those search results. And then finally, understanding the 2 types of grant applications and the requirements of each. As stated earlier, all learners need basic computer and writing skills to participate. Because of the limited class size of only 15 students, learners will be asked to complete a short pre-class survey to make sure they meet the requirements. Questions will include their experience using computers, doing database searches, previous grant writing experience, whether they're seeking grants for personal use or for work, whether they are looking for artistic related funding or for scholarships, and the type of funding they need if it's for work, such as for a program or a capital campaign. After completing this class, students will understand the overall process of seeking a grant. They will know what types of funding and grant-making sources are appropriate for their needs and increase their confidence and ability in finding appropriate funding prospects. They will also be able to do web-based prospect research and understand the challenges involved in seeking grants and how to address those issues. It is important to motivate learners to encourage them to both enroll and stay for the entire class. Students will be motivated to take this class to learn skills that will benefit them personally or professionally. For those learners seeking grants as part of their job, motivating factors are to learn new job skills, advance in their careers, and increase their salaries. Ideally, as the class progresses, students' motivation to use the skills learned will increase as they are able to directly connect what they're learning with how it can help fulfill their personal needs. This class will guide learners from the beginning to the end of the grant-seeking process. As mentioned in the steps required to teaching the process earlier, students will be guided from identifying their funding needs, learning about the types of grants available, searching the database, evaluating search results, an overview on the types of grant applications, which are letters of intent and grant proposals, and the general requirements of each, and finally the basics of how to write a grant proposal. This class offers a variety of different methods for student participation. They will interact with the instructor and with each other, listen to lectures, and participate in interactive activities on the computer. It's important to assess students to make sure that they are understanding the class content. At the end of the database searching section of the class, they will be asked on a one-on-one basis to briefly describe their funding need and to identify one foundation that they have found as a prospect through searching the database. This testing method will help the learner to determine how to present their needs and to explain why they believe a foundation is a good funding prospect. Justifying foundation prospects to organizational leadership and colleagues is an expected part of the grant-seeking process, and being able to explain why a foundation is a good fit is also critical to being able to write a strong grant proposal. This class is designed to be taught in person, as it requires the use of the library's licensed databases and to allow the instructor to give more one-on-one support. Therefore, the majority of instructional materials are printed materials. These can be used for later reference as well as during the instruction for those students who prefer to learn through reading rather than listening or watching. Most of these already exist and can be used on a projector or be printed for distribution. Detailed materials will need to be created on how to use and search the Foundation Center Directory online database. Snagit, a free online tool, will be used to do this. A Google Sites wiki will also be created for class participants to later share resources and tips and seek advice from one another and the instructor as needed. It is essential to assess whether the class was successful in meeting its goal and objectives. To discover how students felt about the class, they will be sent a link to an online survey shortly after the instruction, with a follow-up 1 week later to capture as many responses as possible. Questions will include: why did they take the class? What was their level of knowledge on seeking grants prior to and after instruction? Were they planning to implement any of the skills learned as a result of attending? How knowledgeable was the instructor? Whether the class description accurately reflected the class content? If the instructional materials were helpful? Their overall satisfaction with the class, and then also asking for feedback on how the instructional materials could be more helpful and how the class could have been more effective. Based upon the results, the instructor will modify the content, description, or instructional materials to improve efficacy. If many respondents feel that they gained knowledge and that they were satisfied with the class, it will be offered again. However, if most did not gain knowledge, the course goals, instructional plan, and learning objectives will be re-evaluated. After changes are made, the class will undergo another peer evaluation prior to being offered again. The limitations of the database user licenses require that the class be taught in person in a public library setting. The class will be taught in the library's computer lab, where each learner will be able to have his or her own computer in order to conduct database searches. The computer lab will also be equipped with a projector to display the instructional materials for each section of the class. As mentioned earlier, a Google Sites wiki will be utilized post-instruction for learners to share and access resources and ask questions. Also, although the class is designed to be taught to learners of any age as long as they meet the requirements, the class can easily be modified to focus on any of the 3 target learners: college students seeking scholarship money, individuals seeking support for artistic projects, and employees of small nonprofits. In the case of this modification, the implementation of the class would remain the same.